So Joel Embiid, the latest. So another week has come and gone without Joel Embiid getting on the floor. A positive, though, is that the injury report just says injury management now, no longer accompanied by Embiid's mysterious personal reasons, which no one really knows what those are. But now it's just injury management, no personal reasons behind that anymore. More things are becoming clear about Embiid's mysterious knee issues. Kyle Neubeck reported that the Sixers did their due diligence before extending him. Quote, a group of around 5 to 7 doctors, sources say, did extensive testing and evaluating of Embiid during 3 main periods, following his injury against Golden State in late January, before his return of the end of the 2023-2024 regular season, and before the extension in late September. Those evaluations produced a view that was broadly described as optimistic, but with a range of different possible outcomes. The Sixers, unfortunately, have ended up on the negative side of those outcomes in the short term. That said, the issues Embiid has to deal with are viewed as manageable, and there is some science suggesting that the situation can actually improve over time. In essence, that argument is that the knee can adjust to the new normal, and Embiid would be able to maintain a high level of play with proper care, treatment, and a bit of good luck. Also, another report came out this week from ESPN's Tim Bontemps. According to league sources, they don't believe the Sixers will make a full-on attempt to keep their pick due largely to the fact they have hardly had their best lineup available. So, based on what we're hearing about Embiid's injury and what the 76ers plan on doing with that, with their draft picks, essentially probably trading it in the next few months here, does this make you feel more optimistic about the whole situation going on in Philadelphia?
I mean, you reading it like that, it didn't necessarily give me hope. It didn't necessarily give me doubt. Like I'm like the same place I was before you read it is the same place I'm at right now. But you know what I'm saying? Like you reading it, like I didn't move either way. Because it's still so many holes and so many uncertainties that like they didn't answer any of the uncertainties that I have. So I'm gonna speak on Joel first, and I'm gonna speak on my history of meniscus injuries.
Okay.
I played in Philly on a broken ankle, had a surgery, and I had another surgery at the end of the season. So I played on a broken ankle in the finals, which was I had a surgery and had 3 screws put in. I broke it again, and then that's when I played with the broken ankle, and then I ended up getting another surgery where I had a plate and 7 screws.
Oh, man.
My first game back, I broke my thumb, and I have a plate and 5 screws in my thumb. So I came back from all of those and played with. So that was 2001 and won, and ended up playing 6, 7, 8 more years after that. I hurt my meniscus on the conditioning drill with the Cavaliers. The conditioning drill to go into the season. I heard it sounded like rubber. Somebody was twisting rubber. Did the drill, flew back home. So I was living in Georgia at the time. Flew back to Georgia that day. Did my normal whatever I was doing, play with the kids, didn't think anything of it. Woke up the next day and couldn't walk.
Really?
And had no idea what would happen. Couldn't walk, could barely walk. I mean, I could walk, but I was like, I couldn't do anything. I could walk like with a limp. So
what about before you went to bed that time? Did you feel anything?
Didn't feel anything. Nothing felt abnormal. Nothing felt abnormal to that next day. So
wow. Okay.
I called the trainer. They sent me down to the Hawks doctor. He did whatever he needed to do, and he was like, "You ever had a meniscus issue?" I'm like, "No." And then he said the doctor, he told, they had Philly people on the phone, and he said, "I think you tore." Not Philly, Cleveland people on the phone. And he's like, "I think you tore your meniscus." And I was like, "Oh, I didn't really even know what a meniscus was." So start learning and talking about that. They were like, "Oh, well, it's most people, you're only out for like 4 to 6 weeks, sometimes 6 to 8 weeks." So this is like September. And I go have the procedure, and I didn't really go to a specialist. I just went to, the doctor in Cleveland. Like, I didn't go to a specialist because it was like, oh, it's just a scope. Go home the next day, scope it, we clean it out, whatever. And they kind of explained what they were doing. And so I'm thinking like, okay, well, just get a scope. And the team was going to, I think maybe China or somewhere. And I ended up not going because I stayed back for the procedure. And then as I started going, I got the procedure, and as I started rehabbing and trying to get back ready to play, I found that it never really got back to where they said it was going to go. Like, it never really got back to a form where I would play, and then I would feel like I would get better. Like, I felt like every time I played and every time I practiced, the swelling came back every single time, to this day.
Did you keep going back and letting them know that?
So what I'm saying, so I know I've gained weight and all that stuff now, so that's different. But back then, I didn't have, that wasn't my issue. So I'm saying even then, I was getting my knee drained, and the swelling would come right back after the game. Swelling would come right back after the practice.
When you told your surgeon and docs that, what did they say?
My doctor told me the way my legs were kind of, bowed at the bottom, bow leg a little bit, that was probably the worst injury I could have.
Okay.
Because of the way my legs are in the stage of my career, so most of the weight would go on the inside of my knees. So it's going to be a tolerance thing. And then it was swelling and tolerance, so I could actually play with it, but then it was like the swelling. It will swell right back up after every game, after every practice. So that's why I was saying my last year, I ended up not even playing that much. And then I was like, dude, I can't do this anymore. I'm done. Like, I'm done. And I gave the examples of my ankles before because I never felt like that at any time when I had all those ankle surgeries. And I never felt like I'm done. But when that happened with meniscus, and even now, I have osteoarthritis in my knees, and it's basically bone on bone on my left knee. I basically don't have a meniscus. My right knee is just barely there, but my left one is basically bone on bone. So it catches. You find yourself, it feel like it's giving out. Like, you have all of that. So I don't know if Joel was there, and I hope he isn't. But all I'm saying is my experience with meniscus has me really, really guarded on his ability to return because of my experience. So I'm hoping his isn't like that. But the missing time and not really necessarily anything happening, and the swelling and all the terms that they're using are all the terms that I'm familiar with.
How much longer, in your mind then, how much longer did you want to play? You envisioned at the time?
I felt at that time of my career, if I was clean slate, if I didn't have injuries, I felt, because I had, like, at that time, I had been a starter and then a reserve. Like, I was a starter the year before, and then I went to reserve that year before we went to the finals. So I had never really been at that point an end of the bench guy to kind of like help the young guys. I had never been that guy. So I know that I could have at least played 3 to 4 more years because I never took upon that role to kind of transition into sort of a Kyle Lowry role. You know what I'm saying? I never transitioned into that kind of role to kind of help young guys out and be there if you need it and practice and all that stuff, and then transition maybe into coaching or whatever it was. So I felt that I could have at least done that for 3 to 4 more years.
Yeah.
And I did 14. So I felt I could have done, I did, that was 13. So I was counting as 14, even though that last year I didn't play. So I know I could have did a 14, 15, at least 16, somewhere around there. Easily.
Yeah.
Easily. I could have done that.
Yeah. And especially with not playing as much, whenever you did come in to play a lot of minutes of the game, you would have been fresh. That would have been high quality in that game too, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I could have done that. Especially, I mean, when your salary is You know, like I know coaches that would have taken me on the minimum salary in a heartbeat. You know what I'm saying? So, but I had no interest in doing it. No interest in doing it. I felt like I couldn't do it. Like I honestly felt like I can't do this anymore. Like I can't get my knee drained. And I did a cortisone shot one time. I said never again. So when I was with Philly.
Yeah.
So I refused to get all that stuff.
Man.
So I developed Achilles tendonitis from my ankle surgery. So it was, I don't know how I developed, but I had Achilles tendonitis. That felt worse than the break.
Really?
And that's where I got the cortisone shot. And I was like, man, that made it feel worse. I was like, I'm done with that.
Man. Yeah, I mean, I hope it's some kind of setback.
So to answer your question, I don't feel better. I don't feel worse. I don't think that they really answered any questions for us. I really don't. I don't. I just think that they have to say the right stuff right now because it's still early. But I do think as the season goes on, they'll have to be a little more transparent, or Joel will have to be back. As time goes on, basically time is going to decide it. You know what I'm saying? So that leads into the next thing, whether they're playing for the draft pick or not. I think the time will decide that. I think time and how the season is going at a later date will determine that. I don't think you can determine that. I think you can say right now, yes, we're not worried about that. But as time goes on, that'll decide if they want to keep that pick or not.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I can't say I'm much more optimistic because a lot of this is kind of what I already thought. I mean, I already thought this, but to hear people kind of reaffirm it's different. I figured they did their due diligence before handing them a blank check. I mean, they're not incompetent. Of course, I would hope they have done that.
I mean, you should do that for everyone. I believe you do that for everyone has to take physicals and all that stuff when you sign the contract. And sometimes you can still sign a guy if he has some form of injury, but what it is a lot of times is the they don't I'm playing music, man, on my phone. I don't even know how to work this phone. Where'd that come from? Music just popped up on my phone, man. It's like insurance like will recover them, but if you have an injury kind of beforehand, then the issue is whether insurance is going to cover that injury or not. And if the Sixers would be on the hook if somehow he doesn't play because of that injury. That's what it's really about. That's what, you get the doctors and you take all these tests, and it's really about that. So, I would imagine with the doctors, they probably got it improved for insurance to cover it, or at least cover a percentage of it, so they wouldn't be on the hook if for some reason he signed that 190 and whatever he signed for, and then can't play it. Because Joel's money's good.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of who's going to pay it.
I mean, in missing games to me, I'm so used to it, Joel, that's not my biggest concern right now. I would just want to know, it's not ideal, but it's just the messaging and lack of transparency that's come along with it. Like, it's just say he's out a month. But like this whole is he going to play today? No, he's not going to play today. Is he going to play tomorrow? Maybe. We'll see. No, he's not going to play tomorrow. It's like, dude.
But if you kind of hear part of what I said, I know I said a lot. When I was like, you feel like you can play, and then when you play, it's a tolerance thing, and then all of a sudden, so they may say you can play, but it's how much can you tolerate? And then if you go out there and say, okay, well, I feel pretty good, you go out there, you can tolerate it, then you go out there and try to get ready, as their words is ramp up. So he missed all this time again, so that he's not just going to show up. He's going to have to do something on the court. You do something on the court, you feeling good, then all of a sudden you feeling good, and you finish a workout, and then the next day you come in, your knee swollen again.
So the thing is, though, if you're doing it like a, all right,
that's what I am envisioning is happening to him.
It makes sense, but let's say there's 100% of a bar you have to get before you are ready to play a full NBA game. Let's say he gets to 20% and then swelling, stop, slow it down, waits a couple of days. Let's say he gets to the 30, 40% and then swelling, okay, stop. But like, if you're getting like not even halfway or not even close to that full bar, at one point you're like, all right, let's just stop everything for like a month straight. Like, don't they have any gauge of? I
agree with you saying, but technically, how many games did he play in? How many? 4 or 5?
Four.
Yeah,
4
games.
So he's played 4 games. He's played 4 games since August. It's December. He's played 4 games since August. So he really has taken months off. And he hasn't played a game in what, a couple weeks?
But we don't know the history of it if and when he had a setback, right? We just don't know any of that.
Those are the things that we're talking about with the uncertainties that they still haven't answered.
I know.
Where is this from? What is this from? Is this the same injury from before? Like, we don't know. Is it something new? Is it different? I mean, but you know, he scores 30 plus. He scores 30 points, and then he doesn't play again.
I know. And what's so weird is that he played.
So
he didn't miss a game after he came back in the Knicks. He played the whole Knicks series, and he played most of the time after he came back to close out the regular season last year, and that was a lot closer to his actual procedure. That's what's so baffling to me. He's had more time to rest after that, and you can play less? That's what just doesn't register with me. That just sounds so odd. There's a huge piece missing here. And I get it. They don't want to.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we've said. That's what we said from before, because we've said he played in the Olympics in early August, and now is when the season started, he's not playing. It's November.
And he didn't miss any practices for the Olympics. They said he was a full participant the entire time.
But it was no conversation about him being at a level where he wasn't ready to do anything. All we know, it just went from no preseason to ramp up, week, another week, 2 weeks, whatever, 2 or 3, come back, don't look better than he did previously playing, play 4 games, he's out again.
You're
like I told y'all, like I've said before. I firmly believe that he has an injury that is not getting worse. But it's also not getting better. That's the only thing I can think of. It's just not getting, and that's why I gave you guys the example of my meniscus. It was just like I could play, but then the swelling would still be there. I would get it drained and play, it'd still be there. Now we didn't have the technology and the procedures and the kind of wrap, legs, things that you could put on your leg to take away swelling and all that. We didn't have all that stuff. Even then, even in my career, we didn't have that. That probably could have helped. But for him, and he's not a small guy, so I don't know. I just here what we do know is he's played 4 games. He hasn't played any. He's been out. And even in the 4 games that he played, he didn't look the same as before the January incident. He didn't look the same. He didn't look any better than he did in the Olympics. He didn't look any better than he did when he came back at the end of last season, in the playoffs or the end of the season. He looked any better, and that's all months and months ago. So I have to draw the conclusion that this is the same injury. And if you're saying it's the same injury and he has some form of procedure, will he need another one? How is it going to get better, and how is it going to improve? They're being very secretive with it, and that's their right. But it just draws more questions from us.
Yeah.
He was present at shoot-around today, but did not participate in shoot-around. Also reported that he has been doing some workouts the last few days. He's been doing work the last few days. So,
I don't doubt that.
Do you think if he never got suspended, do you think we would have seen him back on the court? Like, do you think if that whole thing never happened, do you think we would have still have shut him down? He'd be still ramping up till now? Like we've never seen him for those 4 games if he never got suspended?
That's a good question. I mean, that's a really good question. Because I know somebody that worked in the league and worked for the league, and the one that worked for the league and not presently, he said that, he's coming back for sure now, and he's going to play a few games before, and then he just said he has to play. No, his exact words was he has to play now, and he can't just play one game. That was his exact words to me. Like I said, he does not work for the league. I say presently, he worked in the NBA, and he was like, he said, I'm telling you right now, he has to play, and he's not going to play just one game. Now, he didn't put a number on that. He just said, I'm telling you, he's not going to play just one game and then go sit down. Because he felt that would cause another investigation from the NBA for that. For him saying he was back just to get the suspension over with,
out of the way,
for an injured guy.
Yeah.
Thing
is, though, like the suspension lingers, but why couldn't he just, whenever he's about to come back, to say he's coming back 2 days earlier or 2 games earlier, right? Like, what is it? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, you can do that, but that's the thing about it. But that's the thing about it. Like, we really don't know what that is or what that looked like as far as how long he's going to be out. Like, I don't think they knew. I don't think they knew like anything about his injury.
Yeah.
Crazy, man. Hopefully things.
Yeah.
Hopefully, next week, and they haven't ruled him out for next week yet. So there's a glimmer of hope that we see him.
Still buy tickets. That's why.
Yeah, and I saw the tickets for the game on Wednesday dropped to $2. You get Sixers Magic tickets for $2. Probably the lowest price you can get Sixer tickets since the process era, I have to imagine. And the Sixers Celtics game in February
for
$2 for $2 for Sixers Magic game.
The lower bowl? No, I'd imagine that's not lower bowl.
No, I think there were nosebleed tickets, but the fact they were as low as $2, that was what everyone was talking about on Twitter.
Yeah. So they're basically giving them away. Yeah.
I guess people aren't as hyped up on Yabusele and McCain as we are.
I guess not.
They hyped up on them. So some different expectations. So that's what they're expecting.
Yeah,
and even the Sixers Celtics tickets in February, those have gone down significantly across the board. Like those were like for good tickets, you probably had to pay like $300 for those things. Now I'm seeing like good solid tickets for like $150, $140 for those for the Celtics Sixers game. Because people don't want to go see a bloodbath.
They're gonna get purchased. They're just gonna get purchased by the wrong team's fan.
That's true.